All right, good morning. 早上好. All right, so we've been in the book of Proverbs for a little while now. We're going to go through the entire book. 我们继续学习这本书。我们花了大概1个月多在这本书。And so what's going on? Actually, we're in chapter 2, but I want to go back and look at this passage because it's very, very educational. 因为我知道我们已经到第2章，但是我常在学习，特别是这段的几个经文，因为比较重要的。And so what's going on is that King Solomon is teaching his son everything that he has. 然后 Solomon 王他在教他的儿子他所有的智慧。And so if you're a Christian, you're very familiar with the story of King Solomon. 如果你是基督徒，你肯定了解他的故事，就是 Solomon 王的故事。And so when Solomon he was young, he just got into the position of becoming king. 然后 Solomon 王他很年轻的时候就刚刚成为王。And God appeared to him in a dream. 然后上帝在他做了梦到上帝。And God spoke to him and asked him a question. 然后上帝就跟他说，问他一个问题。He goes, "Ask whatever you want, I'll give it to you." 上帝说，你祈求我什么都给你。And Solomon's response was, he goes, "You've put me in charge of leading your people." This is basically what he said. He goes, "You put me in charge of leading your people. However, I don't know how to lead them. I'm young and I lack experience and I lack wisdom." 然后Solomon 王就回复上帝说，我这么年轻的，但是你让我成为你的国民的，而不是你的百姓的王，我怎么带领他们？我需要智慧，我需要帮助。And he goes, "I just need wisdom on how to lead your people." 然后他说，我需要智慧，怎么带领你的百姓。And God was very pleased with this response. 然后上帝非常开心他这么回复 because he didn't ask for women or money or power or the death of his enemies or whatever. 因为他没有祈求上帝给他这么多的老婆或者钱，还是他的仇敌等等，或者来攻击别的国家的问题。他就是问他给我智慧。He only asked for God to give him wisdom. Now, this is very, very interesting because if you ask any Christian, do you think we should have wisdom? Every Christian will say, yes, we need wisdom. And that we need, if you say, do you think that we need more wisdom? Every Christian will agree and say, I need more wisdom. 然后就是非常有意思，因为你随便问别的基督徒，你问他们，你需不需要智慧？所有的基督徒会说，我需要智慧。那你需要更多的智慧吗？对，他们会说，肯定说我需要更多的智慧。And so that is very normal. And to have that mindset as a Christian is very normal. 就是如果就是你的想法的话，那就是很正常的，就是非常好的。So how do we get the wisdom of Solomon? 那我们怎么学到 Solomon 王的智慧？ Well, it's very interesting because Solomon wrote the book of Proverbs. He wrote out his wisdom for us to read. 因为 Solomon 王他把他的智慧写在这本书，就给我们的。So think about this. 所以你想一想 that God gave wisdom to Solomon. 上帝赐给 Solomon 王智慧。And then Solomon writes that out in a book. 然后 Solomon 王把他的智慧写出来。And now we have with the same opportunity and the same chances to get the wisdom that Solomon had. 我们有一样的智慧，可以学到 Solomon 王的智慧 that God gave Solomon, and now Solomon's given it to us. 上帝给 Solomon 王也现在可以给我们的。So Solomon here is teaching his son the wisdom he has. 所以 Solomon 王现在教他的儿子。Because one day his son is going to become king of Israel. 因为有一天他的儿子也要成为那个以色列国家的王。And so Solomon says, "Listen up." 然后 Solomon 王对他的儿子说，你要好好听我的话。And he goes, and it's very interesting that in verse 10, right away, the first issue that he addresses are his relationships. 然后他第一个问题就是你看，就是第1章第10节，他刚刚开始教他的儿子，他说第一个问题是什么？他的关系。And so he goes and let's look at verse 10. 我们看到第10节 it says, "My son." So imagine this. The king is sitting down and his son's in front of him and he's saying, listen to me, son. God gave me so much wisdom and what I'm about to teach you is so very important. 然后他的儿子在他的对面，他说我的儿子，你听我的话。上帝给我这么多的智慧 and I've led this nation into prosperity， 然后我带我们的国家进入我们经济最好的时代。And as a matter of fact, their economy was so good that when the Queen of Sheba came, she was blown away. She goes, even your slaves here are richer than average people outside your country. 然后她说你这里的努力超过外面的普通的人的钱多。And so she says, everyone in your economy is so great. And she goes, actually, silver during this time was worthless. 那时候那个银子没有人要的。Why? Because gold was common. 因为金子是所有的人都有。So their economy is fantastic, and it got that way because of Solomon's wisdom. 他们的经济这么好，是因为他的智慧带领他们。Now, Solomon sits down with his son. Solomon 王跟他的儿子一起坐下 and he goes, listen up. I want to teach you my wisdom. 他说你要听我的话，我要教你我自己的智慧。And this wisdom God gave me, 而且这个智慧是上帝给我的。Now the first thing I want to address is this. 然后他说第一个问题，我要跟你说很清楚是什么 ？Is your relationship 是你们的关系 ？Is your relationships 你的关系 ？And he goes, why? Because what the people you hang out with, the people you associate with, even if you're a good person, and he talks about this in Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, even if you're a good person, the people you hang out with, if they're bad, they can lead you astray. They can corrupt your good morals. 然后他在箴言还有传道书，他都说这个问题。如果你是非常善良的人，很好的人，但是你的周围的人都坏的，以后你也会成为坏的。And so in verse 10 he goes, 第10节 he goes, my son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. 我二，恶人若引诱你，你不可随从。Now you might be thinking like, okay, this is normal. I'm a Christian. I know what's right and wrong. I'm not obviously going to do something bad. 我是基督徒，我知道什么是好，什么是坏事。我肯定不做坏事。I know， 我知道。But what happens when we're with a couple of friends? 但是我们跟几个朋友们一起出去玩。We will do things that we normally wouldn't do for the sake of our friends. 我们跟朋友们一起玩的时候，我们平常会做我可能自己不会平常做的事。For example, 就比如 if you say, well, I don't drink or I seldom drink, 我很少喝酒或者我不喝酒。但是 if you go with your friends, and they're all drinking, there's a very good chance that you will drink with them. 就比如如果你一起出去玩的话，他们都在喝酒，你的喝酒的机会更大。Why? Because they'll ask you want to drink with me. And that's very, very normal. 就是差不多所有的人遇到这个问题。And now Solomon knows that you're going to be in the position of a king, and you have to lead in wisdom. 然后他知道他的儿子要成为王，但是他要用智慧带领他的国家。And if you know what happens with his son and the country after Solomon, you know that his son ran the country's economy into the ground. 你知道他的儿子带领这个国家的经济成为非常糟糕。And as a matter of fact, the people got so upset at Solomon's son that they revolted and they killed him. 以后 Solomon 王的儿子那时候犹太人非常不太喜欢他，以后就杀了他。Why? Because he didn't have wisdom. He was the opposite of his dad. 因为他没有什么智慧，他跟他的老爸反对。And so right away he goes, the first thing I want to address to you is your relationships. 然后他说第一个问题我想跟你说清楚是你的关系。And if you know the story about his son, what happened? 如果你知道他的儿子的故事，他最后的问题是什么？ King Solomon had a group of elders, a group of men that would say, hey, you know what? I think this is a good decision for the country. I think this is a bad decision. 他有一个小队，然后他们就是 like 老人给他智慧。Solomon 王，我觉得我们应该做这件事，不要做那件事。And so Solomon would consult with these men on various things, whatever the country needed, whatever the people needed. 然后他每天就跟随他们聊天，讨论他们的国家的事，这个人的事，那个人的事，这个公司的事。And what happened with his son was what? 然后他的儿子成为王的时候。When the son takes over as king, the son sits down and goes, okay, these are all my dad's advisors who advised my dad. Now they want to advise me. 就是我的爸爸的 like 长老，他们都是要带领我。But his friends says, don't listen to them. You need the younger generation to teach you. 他说不要听他们的话，你需要我们，就是他的朋友们，告诉你怎么带领这个国家。And everything that his friends advised him was contradictory to what his father's advisors told him to do. 然后他的朋友们的推进，跟他爸爸的朋友们的推进反对。不一样的。And what happened was it drove the economy into the ground, and they taxed people heavily. And what ended up happening is that people revolted and they killed the king. 然后以后他们的缴税非常高，所有的人就是非常讨厌他，以后杀死了他。And that was what? He made the decisions because of his friends, the people that he hung out with. He rejected his dad's wisdom and decided to do his own thing. 然后他就追了他的爸爸的智慧，然后就听他的朋友们的智慧，但是他的朋友们是无知的，以后他都把他杀了。And so Solomon says right away he addresses the issue. Solomon 王第一个问题，他说 he goes, if sinners, people that are bad, they teach you to do something good, but you know it's wrong, then don't do it. 然后他说，如果他说有恶人，有犯罪的人，说要跟我们一起玩的话，要做这件事，那坏事你不要做它。And why is he saying this? 为什么他这么说？ Because this is the first issue he addresses. 因为就是第一个问题，他就是说了。He doesn't address money. He doesn't address power. He addresses your friendships. 他没有说钱的问题，没有说能力的问题，没有说他位置的问题，他说朋友们的问题。The people you hang out with. And he goes on to talk about this. 然后他继续说了 He goes, like in 1 Corinthians 15:33, 哥林多前书15章33节说 Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. 不要自欺，滥交朋友是败坏善心。And this letter is to the church. 就是为了教会。And so Paul is saying to the church, listen, even in the church, 他说你们都是基督徒，但是要好好听。He goes, bad company, the people you surround yourself with. Even if like there's Christians that are not good. And so it has to do with the people that are in your field, whether it's at work, it's off of work, it's at school, it's just your friends, whoever you're hanging out with. If they're bad and they're doing things bad, even if you're good, it can corrupt your goodness. 然后呢，就是你在上班、上课，你在外面玩的时候，你的周围的人，如果你自己的道德是好的，但是他们的道德是不好的，以后他们的不好的道德会影响你。And think about that. 你想一想 Has there ever been something that you said I would not do? But the people around you, they do that. And for the sake of them, because you want to hang out with them, you want to please them, you want to be their friends, you will change your morals to match theirs. 你想一想有没有做过了？你现在有自己的道德，你自己说我肯定以后不会做的，但是你所有的朋友们，他们平常做的，以后为了他们的喜欢你的话，你开始跟着他们，你开始跟他们一起玩。All of us have done that. 我们都遇到这个问题。I remember when I was in middle school, 我在高中的时候 I was in 6th grade. 我在6年级。I had two guy friends. I had a lot of guy friends, but two guy friends that I was really close with. 我有两个兄弟们 and I'd often go to their house, especially on Saturday. 我平常跟他们一起玩，特别是星期六。And one day on a Saturday morning, we went to a store, went to Target. 我有一个星期六早上，我们去那个Target， 就是一个市场在美国。And we went to like the video games section where they had all the video games, you could buy and things like that. 我们去一个玩游戏的地方，可以买很多游戏的什么的。And they had these magazines, and in the magazines, like the magazines were wrapped in plastic, and they always had gifts with the magazines. You buy the magazine, and it comes with like a gift. And it'd say like on the thing, it would say free gift when you buy this. 然后呢，我们去买那个就是那个小书，然后那个小书。他们把它放在那个盒子，不是盒子，那个袋子里。然后袋子他们也送一个礼物，就是游戏的礼物。 And it says on the bag free gift， 然后在那个袋子外面写的免费送给你那个礼物。And my friend goes, these are free. 我朋友们跟我说都是免费的。And he goes, so we can just open it up and take the gift. 他说我们可以就是打开那个袋子就拿走那个礼物。And I was like, yeah. And I was like 13 or whatever at the time. And I was like, 13岁大概，然后说 yeah 可以。And me and the other guy, we started opening up all these. It sounds so stupid now, but we're like, yeah, these are free. 然后我和另外一个兄弟开始打开所有的那个袋子，拿出来所有的里面的礼物。But the one guy that told us to do it, he didn't do that. 但是我告诉我们的兄弟他没有这么做的。And he's like, he goes, make sure you get. It sounds so stupid when I think about it. He goes, make sure you get some for me too. And he went outside the store. 然后他跟我说，请你也拿一些东西给我给我一下。但是他没有自己拿的。And he's like, he goes, I'll wait for you guys at this. he goes, I'll wait for the store entrance. 他说我在那个超市的门口等你们。And I was like, okay. and so we went like me and the other guy. We got like all these gifts, right? And we just started to walk out, and the cops come. 我们开始 like 出门口那个很多警察过来的。And they're like, you guys you need to come with us. 然后他说你们要跟着我们。And they took us to the security room, and they had all these cameras up, and we saw like everything that we did. 然后他们带我们去那个找相机的那个时间，看到这么多的时间，就看到我们在做什么。And like, here, you see, we saw you guys open up all these, and here you guys did this, and then you walked over here, and your friend over here did nothing, he just walked to the door. 然后他说你的朋友他一直去那个门口，但是我们看到你们俩都在打开这么多东西，都偷走我们的那个里面的礼物。但是你的朋友去那个门口 ，and my friend, when he saw the cops come, he like ran. And then me and the other guy were there, and they called my dad. My dad was so upset. 然后他给我爸爸打电话，我爸爸就过来接我，他非常生气。And my dad, afterwards, he's like, what were you thinking? I was like, Dad, I didn't. My dad's like, how could you steal it? And I was like, Dad, we weren't stealing. I said it was free. And I was like, wait a minute. In the car, when I was in the car, I was like, wait a minute. That can't be free. You know, and it like hit me that was like for advertising or whatever. And my dad was so upset. And my dad told me, like, from now on, you're no longer allowed to hang out with these two guys because they're bad. My dad said they make you do bad things, bad decisions. 然后我爸爸以后就说了，你不可以跟他们一起玩，因为他们会影响你的行为。然后呢，我在车里面的时候，我在发现了，肯定不是免费的。And so that's exactly what Solomon is saying here. 这是 Solomon 王的意思。And that's what Paul is saying too. 然后就是保罗的意思 says, don't be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. 不要自欺，滥交朋友是败坏的神心。And the thing is that, like, I've always known, my parents have always told, like, everyone knows you're not to steal. 我们都知道不可以偷东西，我们都知道是不好的。But at that moment, for whatever reason, it just went over my head. 我不知道为什么，但是那时候就是我没有想起来。And my friends like lead, but my friend who was telling us to do this didn't take any of it. He went to the door and goes, make sure you get some for me too. And so like he knew. 所以我朋友说他没有那个第一个兄弟，他说你记住也拿一些给我，但是他自己没有拿，他就是一直去门口等我们。And so that's like what he did there was, protected himself. And had us, the other two guys, get caught. 然后他是保护自己，然后让我和他另外一个兄弟就是被警察发现了。And so Solomon is saying the same thing. 然后 Solomon 他说一样的问题。And because he knows his son is going to take over as king. 因为他知道他的 儿子也有成为王。And so us as Christians, 所以我们基督徒 we also have to constantly be thinking about and observing and questioning, who are the people we hang out with. 然后我们基督徒也要平常想一想，我跟谁一起玩，我的周围的人是谁。Now I know that if you're at work, maybe you can't control who the people you hang out with are, but you can use wisdom to discern if what they're doing is in line with what God wants you to do or not. 但是你可以用智慧想一想，我的周围的人是不是做坏事还是不做坏事。And if you know that they're doing things wrong, or that it's something that you would never do on your own, then it's your job to distance yourself from them as much as you can. Now, if you're at work or if you're at school and maybe there's no way to do that, or do it to the best you can. However, when you're off of work, when you're off school, when you're on your own, you can choose who you want to hang out with or who you don't want to hang out with. 但是你在下课或者下班的时候，你自己的时间你都可以控制，你都可以跟他们玩还是不跟他们玩。Why? Because if they do bad things, there's a very good chance, even if you know, like, for example, like what happened with me, that if you know it's something you shouldn't do, there's a good chance that they might lead you to do something even though you know it's wrong. 但是如果你知道就是坏事，但是你的朋友们请你做的话，你的机会做坏事会更高。Like what happened with me, and at that moment, it didn't dawn on me. At that moment, I didn't think about it. 但是那时候我没有想起来就是坏事。However, when my dad was super upset and we were in the car, I realized what I did was wrong. 但是那时候我爸爸超级生气。我们在车上面的时候，我就发现了我做了坏事。And it didn't, like, that morning, if you asked me, is stealing wrong? I would have said yes, of course. 如果那时候早上你问我偷东西是不好的吗？我肯定说是的。But for whatever reason, when I was in the store, it just didn't dawn on me. Because my friend's like, it says free in the bag, so it's free, obviously. 因为朋友说那个袋子说免费，当然是免费的。所以我觉得那就是免费的。But then when we were in the car, my dad was super upset at me. I realized that, and by the way, I got grounded for a very long time. 然后呢，但是我在车上面，我爸爸那么生气的话，我就发现，我真的偷东西。My dad's like, did I not raise you better than this? And all this kind of stuff about the Bible, and you know it's wrong to steal, and why could you steal, and now the cops know, and blah blah blah, and all this kind of stuff. 然后我爸爸说，你知道偷东西是不好的，我们不是基督徒吗？你知道就是对上帝犯罪吗？什么什么什么的。然后我爸爸超级生气，然后他说，现在大家都知道。And actually, that Target, afterwards, they banned me and the two other guys for a year from going back into that store. 然后他们那个市场说一年你和你们三个人不可以再过来这里玩，或者在这里买东西。And so that was it. I didn't realize until afterwards, but that was after I already made the bad decision. 以后我就发现我做了不对。但是那时候我在做坏事那个犯罪的时候，我没有想起来。And a lot of us get stuck in that same type of situation. 然后很多我们的基督徒可以很容易遇到这样的问题。And every day we make new decisions. 每天我们都有新的选择。Every day is a new day. 每天是新一天，对吧？ And things we did yesterday are already done. 昨天我们做的事其实已经结束了。Today is a new day. 今天是新一天。And so today we have a chance to do what's right or wrong. 今天我们可以选择是对还是不对。And maybe you're thinking, well, I don't plan on doing anything bad today. 你可能对自己说，我没有打算自己做坏事。But if you're meeting up with people that have bad morals, the chances of you doing something bad, even though you don't want to, greatly increase. 但是如果你知道下午要跟坏人一起玩的话，那以后下午你的做坏事的机会会更高。Even if you think you yourself will never do that, 如果你自己觉得我肯定不会做的。But often we do it for our friends or for the people around us, for them, We will do things, we will compromise, we will do things that we often wouldn't. 但是我们平常是为了他们，为了朋友们，为了我喜欢的人，我会做坏事。Psalm 1:1 says, 诗篇第1章1节说 Blessed is the one who does not walk in the step of the wicked, or stand in the way of sinners, or take the seat in the company of mockers. 不从恶人的寂寞，不站罪人的道路，不坐邪慢人的座位。And so what is David saying here? 大卫王他这里说什么 He goes, this person is blessed. 这个人没有做这坏事的话是什么？是祝福的。It says, blessed is the one who does not walk in the step of the wicked. Means blessed is the person who does not have a company of bad people around him. 他说什么？不从恶人的寂寞，不站罪人的道路。所以你看，不坐邪慢的座位。He's saying what? The person that you surround yourself with, or the people you surround yourself with, if you're blessed, if they're not bad people. 他说，如果你的周围的人不是坏的话，那你已经有很大的福了，已经有很大的祝福了。Why? Because the chances of making good decisions are a lot higher. 为什么？因为你的做好事的话的机会更高。And so, if you want to have wisdom, 如果你要提高你的智慧的水平 then hang out with people that have more wisdom. 那要跟智慧的人一起玩。If you want to make right decisions in your life, if you want to change your life, 如果你想改变你的生活，要选择对的道路 then you want to be with people that you know are on that same road. 但是那你要跟随你知道已经选择走这个路的话的人，跟他们一起走路。And so you want to follow those people. But the people that you know, if you know the things that they often do, the road they're taking, if you know they do bad stuff or they're not a good influence on you, then don't follow them. Why? Because if you do, the Bible here is saying that what's the opposite of not being blessed? Not blessed, maybe even cursed. And so if you follow the people that are doing wrong, you're just going to lead yourself in destruction. 但是如果你知道你的周围的人，或者这样的人，或者这么朋友们做了坏事的话，那这里是他们是祝福的吗？没有，他们也可能是诅咒的，对吧？ Because if you take bless and you change it, you flip it over, what's the opposite of being blessed? 那如果你把 blessed 就是 blessed 的，就是祝福的福了，你把它反过来是什么？ What's the opposite of blessed? To be cursed 就是诅咒的，对吧？ And so if a person is, if you know that the people or whoever you're hanging out with, their morals are bad, then the chances of you following that path are higher. And you fall under their influence. You fall under their corruption. And so that wouldn't be blessed. 然后如果你知道你的周围的人是不好的或者坏的，但是你还是跟随他们，还是那你不是祝福的，你不是 blessed， 也可以把它反过来是诅咒的 to be cursed. Why? Because the chances of you making a dumb decision or bad decision are a lot higher. And sometimes the choices that we make can drastically alter our life. 而且有时候我们的选择的行为的话，可能完全改变我们的生活。As a matter of fact, it's in the book of Ecclesiastes where Solomon says, "Why will you?" No, it's in Proverbs. It says, "Why will you die before your time?" 然后在箴言书还是传道书忘记了 ，Solomon 王也说了，为什么要早点去世了？ And so what Solomon is mentioning there is that he's saying that the choices that we make can have a direct impact on our life. 我们的每天的选择什么，都可以完全影响我们的生活。And so Solomon there in that statement, 那这句话 Solomon 王的意思是 that there's choices that we can make that can even shorten our lifespan. 我们也有选择，可能影响我们的生命。And Solomon says, "Why will you die before your time?" 他说，为什么你要早点去世？ Meaning that a choice that person, there's a choice that we can make that could, maybe God says, "I want you to live 80 years." You can live 80 years. But we can make a stupid choice. You can do drugs or you can drive a car drunk or something, and then you die at 50 or whatever, or 20 or whatever。但是我们可以，上帝可能对你的说了，你可以活着到80岁，但是我们也可以选择喝酒开车，以后就早点去世了，或者做毒品什么的，可能影响我们的生命。And so that has to do with what? Maybe someone influenced you to do something bad. 可能是有人给你不好的影响。And so that is something that us as Christians, we always have to be cautious of. 我们的基督徒要老是想起来这个问题。And Solomon says, "My son, if sinners entice you, do not consent." 他说恶人若引诱你，你不可随从。Don't listen， 不要听他们的话。So there's a choice. 所以这里有选择。You can choose to listen, or you can choose to walk away. 你可以选择听他们的话，也可以选择走了。Number 2， 第二个。What? One second. 等一下。Where is number 2? Verse 11. 第11节。If they say to you, "Come along, let us lie in wait for innocent blood. Let us ambush some harmless soul." 他们若说，你有我们的同去，我们要埋伏流人，止血，要蹲伏害无知or 害罪之人。And so here's what the friends are what plotting. 所以这里是什么？他的朋友们就是在已经准备做坏事，他们早点想一想要做什么。And so here, it's very interesting that Solomon is addressing this because Solomon probably knows the people his son is hanging out with. 就是非常有意思的 Solomon 说了这句话，因为他可能已经知道了他的儿子的朋友们有很多不好的朋友们。And he's given an example. 然後他現在給一個例子。Now this might sound like it's obvious. 然後這個我們可能感覺當然了，誰會這麼做的？ Because it sounds like they're getting ready to kill. 因為就是我們覺得他們可能準備殺死這個人。And you think, well, I would never do something like that. 你說我肯定一輩子不會這麼做。But what happens if all of your friends are planning to do something? 但是如果你的朋友們都是在準備做壞事 and they're like, come with us. 然後他們說，你跟着我們。Oh, what are you afraid? 你是害怕嗎？ Or what are you, a sissy boy or whatever? 你是什麼？就是 like sissy boy， 就是沒有勇敢的男生。Are you weak? Well, if you're not gonna ride with us and get out of here. 如果你不想跟隨我們，那就是離開。你不是我們的朋友。And friends do that. 我們的朋友們也會這麼說，這麼做。Romans 16, 17, 18 says, 羅馬書16章17到18節說 I urge you, brothers and sisters, to watch out for those who cause divisions, and put obstacles in your way that are contrary to the teachings you have learned. 他說，弟兄們，那些離間你們，叫你們跌掉，背後所學知道的人，我勸你們要留意，躲避他們。And so Paul here is saying to the church, 然後保羅這裡對教會說 he goes, please pay attention, and this is your job. 他說你要好好小心，就是你的選擇。Look for the people that are specifically try to do bad things every day. And here it says cause divisions. 然後這裡說什麼？就是要分開。So it's probably Paul's talking about. He's saying be careful with people that gossip. 他說什麼？要小心誰是我聽說 gossip 它的中文怎麼說？八卦就是可能是八卦的意思。Why? Because gossiping is a great way to cause division between people. 因为八卦是可以让两个人还是几个人就是以后分开的。Because this person says something bad about that person says something bad about this person, and later on there's an issue. And so Paul here is saying, I urge you, brothers and sisters, to watch out for these people. Separate yourselves from them. Why? Because it's only going to lead to destruction. 然后这里保罗说什么？他说要小心。他说弟兄姊妹们也可以了解那些离近的人，你们叫你们跌掉，就是你要知道他们在八卦还是什么的，以后可能让这两个人还是这几个人 以后就超级生气，吵架了什么什么的。他说要小心，不要跟随他们。It's the same thing that Solomon 其实就是跟大卫王Solomon 王说一样的。To be careful that like these type of people are his friends, or like my friend, my friend who said, and make sure you get some for me too. 我朋友说要记住也拿一些的礼物给我。So my friend knew that it was wrong. 我的朋友知道是坏事， but he didn't want to do it. 但是他不敢做的。And so and he didn't get in trouble, but we did. 以后他没有遇到什么问题，但是我们都遇到问题。And so Paul says that who cause divisions, he goes, watch out, who cause divisions and put obstacles in your way that are contrary to the teaching that you have heard. And then here it's dealing with specifically with scripture. But and in the church, there's many things that can happen. 然后这里是什么？他说那些临近你们的，叫你们跌倒，被胡所学知道的人，我劝你们要留意，躲避他们。就是离开他们，要快走。然后这里是关于教训，但是我们也知道在教会里面也有很多别的问题。And so Paul says, be careful. 他说小心 goes, keep away from them. For such people are not serving Christ, but their own appetites. By smooth talk and flattery, they deceive the minds of the naive. And so here's what's going on. They're using their tongues to say whatever to cause division in the church. 然后他说什么？他说因为这样的人不服侍我们的主基督，只服侍自己的父，用花言巧语诱惑那些老实人的心。所以他们是什么？用他们的舌头说很多他们伤感兴趣听的话，但是是为了什么？是为了他们自己的好的事，不是为了教会的好事，或者他们几个人的好事。So it's the same thing. It's a person or people trying to cause division. 然后就是有一个人还是几个人上什么以后，让他们都跌掉。Like what happened with me and the other guy, we stumbled, we fell. Why? Because one guy led us both to fall. He didn't fall, but we did. 我和我的另外一个兄弟，我们一起跌倒，但是他没有跌倒。So 但是他领导我们跌倒。And so Paul saying, watch out. 保罗说你要小心。And Solomon is saying the same thing to his son. 然后 Solomon 王他是他的儿子的爸爸，他说你也要小心。And that's what all of us have to be aware of what we do. 我们都要什么？要注意自己的安全，知道你的周围的人是谁。And then take the steps from there. 然后可以就是要自己的一步一步来。And so think about that. 你想一想 who are the people in your lives? 你想一想你的周围的人是谁？ Who's good? Who's bad? 谁是好的？谁是坏的？ and even if they say that they're a Christian, 如果他们也说是基督徒 doesn't mean that they always make good decisions. 也意思是不是每一次都是选择是好的事。Now it's not saying that you can't be friends with them or whatever, but you have to realize that if people are together and they're gonna do bad things, and you know they're gonna do bad things, if you go with them, there's a chance that you're gonna do bad things as well. 但是如果你知道他们在一起的时候，可能一起玩坏事，然后你早点知道这个问题，但是你还选择跟他们的话，那你以后的机会做坏事是更高。But the opposite is the same. 但是你把这个问题反过来也是的，真是的。If they do good things, the chance of you also doing good things will increase. 如果做好事的话，然后你也去跟着他们，你机会以后做好事的话也是更高。Let's pray. 我们祷告。Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. We just pray that you continue to guide and lead our steps. You give us wisdom, especially when it comes to the people that are in our lives. 然后主啊，我们很感谢你今天的聚会，也继续给我们智慧。特别是关于我们的所有的关系的智慧。And Lord, help us to make the right decisions and choices this week. 然后主要让我们这周选择都是对的选择，还有事情for your honor and also for our own good morals. 然后也是为了你的荣耀，也是为了我们自己的好的道德。我奉你耶稣基督的名求，阿门。